Right, I suppose I better stop looking at remote control cars and get some editing done. So welcome back to another video. In this one, we've got some descaling to do with the Picote, we've got a patch liner to do, and we've got some storm drains blocked up. So I hope you enjoy the video. If you do, leave a like, leave a comment, and please subscribe. Thank you.
Hello, I'm on TV. If you like this video, give a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe at the end.
So we are at a community centre / bowls club / nursery. I've been here before. I can't remember if we've been here before together. Possibly. Let me know in the comments if you do remember this one or not. Last time I was here, I had to get this cover up with the cover up key, and it was seized in solid. The key eyes are shot on it, and the cast frame's all broken around. So we have quoted to replace this cover. So don't be surprised when I lift it and it disintegrates, because it did that last time. So I've got to lift it with the cover up key again because it's seized back in. Now all the pieces you're going to see breaking off this manhole were broken last time I lifted it. So yeah, like I said, we've quoted for a new cover. So, as I said, we have a patch liner to go in here, so I'm going to start by cameraing downstream to show you where the patch is going. I'm then going to camera upstream and show you the descaling that he's doing. So this is an old clay drain. It is 4-inch and you usually expect some displaced joints, cracks and things like that. There's a number of little defects in it, but there's one crack and displaced joint that we've suggested putting a patch over before it gets any worse. So I'm going to camera down to that point and show you that one. So at this point you can see the colour change there. It looks like someone has added in a connection on the left hand side there. Carrying on down, we should come to a manhole here that is buried. We then go down a bit further, it turns left a little bit. We carry on and then we have a crack going all the way around the pipe and this displaced joint. Let's go back to the crack there. It does look like a joint, but yeah, it is a crack. You can see because it's not perfectly round. If you look on the bottom right hand edge, it sticks out a bit. And then yeah, this horrible little joint here. So we'll try and get a patch to cover both of those. So I'm going to position the camera right in between those two defects. We're going to use a 600mm patch. So we'll stop about here and we'll put some tape on the camera cable, and then we can line that up with our rods and match that tape mark up so we know where we're patching. So whilst I got the camera still set up here, let's have a look at the upstream line towards the urinals and see what we're going to be descaling. Well, you can probably tell already, but it's quite rough on the bottom, and as we camera up, we get steadily heavier and heavier scale. It's rough as anything, and then we lose about 60% of the pipework to that lime scale. So we're going to get the cyclone chains up through there on the Picote and try machine that out. But first, let's get our tape mark transferred onto the air rods for the packer. We'll then get the patch in, and then whilst the patch is going off, we can then do the descaling during that time, because we've got about an hour and a half to wait for the resin to go off, so it makes sense to get the patch in first, rather than wasting time. I've done lots of videos on patch lining. I've actually got a playlist of them, so if you want to see patch lining where I explain it a bit better, then go back and check those videos out. But we always start shiny side up on a patch, cover it in resin, fold the two edges in to meet in the middle, roughly where that red line is, and yeah, flip it all over, and basically we want to cover both sides of this and fold it up nicely before wrapping it around the packer. So now we've covered that and folded it up, we're now going to flip it over and cover the other side. And this is going to be the side that is wrapped around the packer, so this is going to be the bit of the patch you see on the camera. We're now going to wrap this nice and tight around the packer, push it down to the point in the drain where our tape mark is, and then inflate this up to 2 bar. That push it out to 4 inch and stick it nicely to the outside of the drain. Once the resin's gone off, we can then deflate it, pull this out, and that should leave a nice patch. We're going to stick some wires around this as well. This just holds it to the packer whilst we push it down the drain and stops it sliding off. A good tip if you're doing patch lining is wear 2 pairs of gloves, because that allows you to take the top pair off without getting covered in resin before touching your tools and stuff, so you don't end up spreading resin onto everything else. Right, let's get our patch in this drain. So, like I said, we're going to push it all the way down to our tape mark that we previously put on the rods, and that patch should be bang in the middle of where we need it to be. Now, just a reminder, later on in this video, we've got some rainwater gullies to deal with. There's a big flood in the transport yard, so we're going to go deal with that. And we're also going to come back to that one at a later date with the gully sucker, but I won't tell you why just yet. But yeah, stick around for that one. Well, the patch is in position, so I'm now going to use the compressor to take this up to 2 bar, and we can then leave it for about an hour and 20 minutes, I think I had this one in for. Like I said, whilst we wait, we'll get the cyclone chains in on the Picote and do a bit of descaling. Right, I think I've managed to sync this one up pretty much spot on. course, the problem with doing this is if you haven't got water running down the drain, your camera lens ends up looking like this. So I managed to get the urinals to flush, and you can still see that big clump in front of us just there. But I think we're nearly at the end, so we're going to do a little bit more machining on this and see if we can get all the way to the trap at the other end. So I think we've machined into the U-bend. I've just got the urinals to flush again so we can get a clearer picture and see what we've got. But yeah, that there is the trap, and you can see the cable going down into there. I'm going to spin the cable back down here with some water running because you can see all that loose silt is still staying in there, so plenty of water, and spinning that cable should clean this drain up quite nicely. I think what I'm going to do is get this camera out of the way, and then we can just spin the cable all the way back. So I flushed plenty of water down through the urinals after machining it, and it is looking 99% better. You're never going to get it absolutely perfect. Remember, this is years and years of build up and it is stuck on there solid. Now, it looks like the pipe actually changes material at this point before going into the trap. But at least we've lost that 60% area loss and got it back full flow. So what we've got to do now is let the air out of the packer. It's been 1 hour and 20 minutes. And we will see how we're looking. So cammering down, we've got our internal manhole, bends left a bit, and then we've got our patch sitting about here. So we're covering that crack and we're covering that bad joint, so that should stop things getting worse. Right, all we got to do is put this dodgy cover back down, and hopefully at some point we will replace this cover. Fingers crossed, we've quoted for it, but I've not heard no more about that yet. Right, I hope I don't get demonetized for the singing in the background of that last clip, But we are done at that place, so we're now going to move on to possibly the quickest job you're ever going to see me do on YouTube. So we need to go fit a gully cover. And I don't know if you remember back a few videos, but we had a gully that's blocked and a mouse had fallen in it. So we are going to put a cover on there. Honestly, this is the quickest, easiest job ever. I'm glad it was nice and quick because it was raining and I got absolutely soaked just doing this. Yeah, easy as that. Told you it was going to be a quick one. I think I put in the title 30-second job. I don't even think it took that long. But yeah, we've got one more job to deal with in this video, and that is some blocked gullies. 5 of them in particular. They've got some floodwater in a transport yard. I'm going to try and clear one of them just to get rid of the floodwater, and then we're going to recommend going back and taking the combi there, which is currently Tuesday night. And I am booked in for it on Friday, so hopefully I can make a video of that, and fingers crossed you will see it in either the next video or the one after, depending on how many jobs I have in between that. So the first problem we've got is to actually find the gully, which I believe is around here, right there. The next problem is getting the lid up. Now, I could have used the gully hook on the cover-up key, but it was too thick to fit through the bars, so we had to do it the old-fashioned way with a pry bar. And, of course, sticking my hand in there and just trying to lift it. So the reason I'm here with gully grabs and not a gully sucker is because, yeah, the gully sucker wasn't available and they wanted this water gone. And yes, my bucket is floating away in the background. But yeah, we're going to dig as much of this silt out as we can, hopefully get down to the outlet, and then we should get a nice whirlpool and all this water should run away. Spoiler, I know there's going to be a whirlpool and all the water's going to run away because I did the job. So out of this gully, I ended up digging out about 2 buckets worth of silt. So I thought I was down to about where the outlet was, but it still wasn't running away. So I thought what I'll do is I'll put the reducer on the jetter and we'll poke that down in there. Hopefully that'll punch a hole through the sill and everything can run away. That was the plan anyway. So plan B, I do have a little bit of a whirlpool there, not much. So I'm just going to stick a long glove on, stick my hand down in the gully and try and pull out whatever is in the outlet. So there's still plenty of silt in the bottom of this gully, but as I said, we are going back here on Friday with the gully sucker, so we will get the rest of that out then, but at least we've got rid of the flood water for now. So as always, we're going to give this area a bit of a clean up, even though it's not sewage, it is just silt, but it does look a bit of a mess. So let's give it a bit of a wash down with the reducer on the jetter, and yeah, we'll just wash all that into the gully and we will deal with it on Friday. So join me in the next video, or possibly the one after that, where we are going to be emptying the rest of this gully, and also these 4 up here. And like I said, we're going to come back here with the gully sucker. That one's completely blocked. This one up here, I think that was blocked. Yep, that's completely blocked. We've then got 2 up here that aren't quite as bad, but I'd put about it, they're blocked as well. And yeah, this one up here isn't that bad at all really, but you never know what's in the bottom of the pots. So yeah, join me in the next video or the one after that. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please leave a like. Please leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100,000. My daughter wants play button. That's it, really. So, yeah, thanks for watching. I will see you on the next one.
Please like and subscribe and leave a comment.